Are you ready to learn more British English? In this video, I'll share another 50 everyday words and phrases, including slang, work expressions, and fun ways to talk about people and time. These will help you sound more natural and confident when speaking English. If you haven't seen part 1 of this video yet, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can watch it after this one. Now let's get started with our first category of phrases. The first set of phrases can be used in daily life or when being polite. The first is good shout. Good shout is another way to say good idea. You can use this phrase when someone makes a suggestion or gives an idea and you want to agree with it. You can say, good shout. The next one is no worries. No worries means that's okay or don't worry about it. A good time to use this phrase is when someone says thank you and you want to say, don't worry about it or no problem. You can say, no worries. Or if someone says sorry because they did something wrong and you want to reassure them that it's okay, you can also say, no worries. The next phrase is, that's a bit much. If you say something's a bit much, you mean it's a bit extreme or maybe a bit too harsh. For example, if someone at your work makes a small mistake and the manager fires them, so they lose their job over a very small mistake. You could say, that's a bit much. It means getting fired was a bit unfair because they only made a small mistake. So that was a bit too extreme, a bit harsh, a bit much. The next two are polite ways to say no to an invitation. You can say, I'll give it a miss. So if someone invites you to something and you want to say no but be polite, you can say, thanks, but I'll give it a miss tonight. It means you won't be going. And the other one is, I'll sit this one out. It's the same thing. You are rejecting or saying no to an invitation. I'll give it a miss or I'll sit this one out. Our next group of phrases can be used for describing people. We have some positive and negative and neutral phrases. The first one is a good laugh. If I say someone is a good laugh, it means they're fun to be with, and they might also be funny. They make you laugh. You have fun when you're with this person. I like Linda, she's a good laugh. The next one is a legend. If you say someone is a legend, it means you think they are amazing and they are probably really well respected by other people. You might hear this word when people say thank you. For example, oh, thank you so much for helping me yesterday. You're a legend. It means they think you're an amazing person. The next one is also positive. You can say someone is lovely. If you describe someone as lovely, it means they're very kind and they're a very nice person. For example, my son's teacher is really lovely. It means she's kind, she's nice, all the children like her. The next one is to say that someone has got their head screwed on. If I say someone has got their head screwed on, it means they are sensible. For example, I could say, my new manager has got her head screwed on. She's always coming up with sensible and practical ideas. Let's look at some negative ones now. The first one is to say that someone is full of themselves. This means that that person is arrogant or self-important. They think a lot about themselves. For example, Jim is really full of himself since he got that promotion. It means that he got a promotion and now he thinks he's great. He's quite arrogant or he's full of himself. The next one is a bit of a weirdo. A weirdo is a strange or unusual person. And if you say someone is a bit of a weirdo, it means you think they're a bit strange but not in a good way. It could be that this person makes you feel a bit uncomfortable with their behavior. He's a bit of a weirdo. The next one is a right pain. If someone is a right pain, it means they are very annoying. I might say, my youngest brother is a right pain sometimes. He's really annoying, he irritates me. The next one is a bit dodgy. If you say someone is a bit dodgy, it means they are suspicious or you don't really trust them. You might say, my new next door neighbor is a bit dodgy. Something about him is suspicious or untrustworthy. And the next one is a bit thick. If you say someone's a bit thick, it means they're a little bit stupid. It's not a very nice way to describe someone at all. But thick basically means stupid. Be careful when you use this one because it could be quite rude in the wrong context. The last one is kind of neutral, and that's a right character. If someone is described as a right character, it means they're a bit unusual or maybe a bit funny. It could be positive or negative. It really depends on the context. You could say, my next door neighbour's a right character. He's always telling funny or unusual jokes. In that way, it's quite positive. Or you might say, my next door neighbour's a right character. He's always doing and saying very strange things. I don't really understand him very well. In this case, maybe it's not so positive. So you can see it depends on the context and how you use it. If you're enjoying this video and finding these phrases useful, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more English language learning content just like this. Now let's continue with our next category of phrases. Now we're going to look at some fun British slang words. So if you're in the UK, you will probably hear these words sometimes. The first one is Bob's your uncle. This is something people say when they finish a task or they finish a job. For example, imagine that I'm explaining how to make a cake. I explain everything step by step, and at the end I could say, then put it in the oven for 30 minutes and Bob's your uncle, you have a cake. So it's a funny phrase that we say when we finish a task and we want to say, there, it's done, it's finished. The next one is fair play. If you say fair play, you are showing respect for someone or you're agreeing with them. If someone gives you an opinion and you want to agree, you could just say fair play, which means, yeah, okay, you have a point, I agree. Or maybe you are watching a football match and someone scores a goal. You could say fair play, that was a good goal. In this way, you are showing respect for that person. The next phrase is taking the mick or taking the mickey. If you are taking the mick with someone, you are making fun of them. It's usually used in a fun, friendly, jokey way with friends. So you could be joking around with someone and say, don't worry, I'm just taking the mick. Means I'm just joking and making fun of you. The next word is chuffed. If you are chuffed, it means you're really pleased about something or you're feeling proud of something. For example, I was really chuffed to get that job. It means you were very pleased. The next one is blimey. Blimey is an expression we use when we are surprised. So in any situation where you feel surprised, you can say this word, blimey. It means I can't believe it. Wow, what a surprise. The next one is skive off. If you skive off, it means you skip school or work. So you could use this on a day where you're supposed to go to school or you're supposed to go to work, but you decide not to. Not because you're sick or because you have a particular reason. You just don't want to go. So you say that you are skiving off work or skiving off school. We use this phrase when you're not attending school or work without permission. The next word is gobby. If you say that someone is gobby, it means they talk too much, usually in a rude way. For example, you might say, he's a bit gobby in meetings. He's always saying rude things and not letting other people speak. So you can see this is a negative way to describe someone. The next phrase is bugger all, and this means nothing at all, absolutely nothing. It's a little bit rude, so be careful who you use it with. But for example, you might say, I've done bugger all today. It means I did absolutely nothing today. The next is one of my favourite phrases, and that is to potter around. If you potter around, it means you're moving around in a relaxed, casual, or leisurely way. Usually, you're doing small, unimportant tasks, maybe around your house, but your aim is not to be productive. It's more just to enjoy yourself. An example of a day spent pottering around could be you wake up, you have a slow breakfast, maybe you slowly go round your house and water your plants, you sit down for a little bit, you do a little bit of cleaning, but it's not very urgent, it's not done quickly, you're taking your time and enjoying yourself. That's pottering around. The next word is sorted. And this is a word we use when something is all arranged, complete, or fixed. For example, you might say to someone, don't worry, everything's sorted. It means you've completed all the tasks and all of the things that you needed to arrange are done. It's sorted. The next phrase, another good one, is to faff about. If you faff about, you're doing something inefficiently or you're wasting time as you do something. It could be that you are waiting for someone to get ready so you can go out, but they're being very slow and they're wasting time doing it. You might say, stop faffing about and get ready so we can go. The next phrase is to waffle on. If you waffle on, it means you talk too much. For example, you could say, my granddad waffled on for hours telling us stories about when he was a child. It meant that he talked and talked and talked for a really long time. The next phrase can be used when you didn't understand something, and that's, you what? It means pardon or I'm sorry. It means I didn't hear or understand. Just be careful though, because this is not very polite. If you say to someone, you what? It's quite a rude way of saying, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. What did you say? The next phrase is to throw a wobbly. If you throw a wobbly, it means you have a tantrum, you get very upset, or you lose your temper. You could say, my son got very upset when his football team lost and he threw a wobbly. He got very angry, very upset. Maybe he was crying or having a tantrum. That's to throw a wobbly. The last one in this category is miffed. If you say you are miffed, it means you're annoyed or upset about something. For example, you could say, my manager cancelled our meeting again yesterday. I'm feeling a bit miffed. It means you're annoyed by the situation. Now we're going to look at some phrases that can be used in a work-related context. The first one is, I'm snowed under. If you say you're snowed under, it means you have too much work to do, too many tasks to get done. You could say, I'm absolutely snowed under with all the reports I have to write. It means you've got so many reports to write, it's too much work. The next one is, it's a bit full on. If you describe something as full on, it means it's intense or maybe overwhelming. You could say, my first week at work was a bit full on. There was so much to learn, so many people to meet, and lots of things to remember. I feel a bit overwhelmed. That's full on. The next phrase, let's crack on. If you say let's crack on, you're saying let's get started or let's continue with something. You could use this at the beginning of a meeting. You could say, okay, everyone, let's crack on with the meeting, meaning let's begin, let's start. The next one is, I'll pencil it in. This is used when you are making plans to have a meeting. If you say, I'll pencil it in, it means you're agreeing to the meeting, but it's tentative, meaning it's not 100% arranged. For example, you could say, I'll pencil in a meeting for Tuesday, but if something comes up, we can reschedule. The next phrase is to pull a sickie. This is a bit similar to skive off because it means you don't go to work, but with this one, you pretend to be sick, even if you're not. So if I say, yesterday I pulled a sickie and went shopping, It means I told my manager I was sick, but actually I wasn't. It was a lie. Next, we have on the ball. If you say that someone is on the ball, it means they are alert, they are paying attention. It could also mean that they understand things quickly and easily. They can take new information and easily understand it. Next, we have slacking off. This is probably the opposite to on the ball, because if you're slacking off, it means you're being lazy and you're not really doing any work. For example, I could say, he's been slacking off all afternoon. He's barely got any work done. It means he's not working very hard. Next, we have all hands on deck. This is a phrase used when we want to say that everyone needs to help. For example, imagine you are holding a big event at work and your manager says, okay, all hands on deck. It means they want every single person to help and contribute to the event. Another work phrase is behind schedule. If something or someone is behind schedule, it means they're delayed. Something is not going to be completed or is not going to happen by the time that it was supposed to. If you say we're behind schedule with the project, it means that things are going too slowly, you're not close enough to finishing at the time you were supposed to. Another one to talk about timings and schedules is to meet the deadline. If you meet the deadline, it means you complete a task by the time that you were supposed to complete it. So it's almost the opposite to being behind schedule. You meet the deadline, it means you finish on time. Our final group of phrases are some expressions you can use to talk about time or frequency with which something happens. First, we have every now and then, which means occasionally. If you say, I like to go to the cinema every now and then, it means you don't do it a lot, you don't do it often. It's just something you do occasionally, maybe once a month. The next one is once in a blue moon, and this means very rarely or hardly ever. So if I say I go to the cinema once in a blue moon, maybe I go once a year maximum. It's not something I do very often, it's rare. The next one is in no time. If you do something in no time, it means you do it very quickly. For example, if you say, I'll finish this task in no time, it means you expect to finish very quickly. Next, we have from the get-go. If you say something happened from the get-go, it means it happened from the very beginning or the very start. For example, you could say, on the day of her driving test, she was nervous from the get-go. It means from the very beginning, she was feeling nervous. The next is a fun expression to talk about time, and that's donkey's years. If something happens for donkey's years, it means it happens for a very long time. For example, you could use this phrase to talk about a friend that you've known since you were a child. You could say, I've known him for donkey's years, meaning I've known him for a very, very long time. The next one is time flies, which means time goes very quickly. Sometimes we say time flies when you're having fun. So this is something you can say when you're doing something enjoyable and it feels like the time went very, very quickly. You can say, time flies when you're having fun. The next one is to describe a time of day, and that's at the crack of dawn. And if you do something at the crack of dawn, it means you do it really, really early in the morning. For example, this morning I got up at the crack of dawn. It means it was very early when you got up. The next one is on and off. If you do something on and off, it means you do it occasionally with some interruptions. For example, if I say, I go running on and off, it means I go through periods when I might run, and then I stop for a while, and then I start again. It's this stopping and starting idea that's on and off. The next one is till the cows come home. And if we say that we do something till the cows come home, it means for a very long time. An example could be, my friend and I always love to talk. We could talk until the cows come home. It means we could talk for a very long time. And the final phrase to talk about time is at the drop of a hat. If you do something at the drop of a hat, it means you do it without delay, immediately. For example, you could say, I can be ready at the drop of a hat. It means I can be ready straight away without any delays. Well done! If you have watched part 1 and 2 of this video, that's 100 British phrases that you've just learned. And well done if you stuck with it all the way to the end. Let me know which was your favourite phrase by writing a comment down below. If you want to learn more useful daily English phrases, you can check out the playlist in the description below this video. And if you haven't seen part 1 and want to learn some more British English words and phrases, then you can check out that video right here.